The walls of the huge mansion reflected my screams with a hollow echo. "Wait, Zach, you've got it all wrong!" I shouted after my boyfriend, but he didn't seem to hear. He was rapidly walking away down the corridor until he disappeared around the next turn. Finding him in these labyrinths will be simply impossible. And how do rich people live in such houses at all? After a few minutes, I was already looking not for Zach, but for a way out. Galleries, swimming pools, even a home terrarium. There was everything in this huge mansion, from huge safes filled with gold bars to the office of a personal doctor. But there was still no way out on the horizon. I wandered around the mansion for quite a long time and already started to panic. Suddenly, I found myself in one of the Gothic towers, which made Zach's mansion stand out spectacularly against the background of other houses in the neighborhood. There was only one room in the tower, but what a room! When I entered it, it was like I was in a fairy tale. That's exactly how I imagined my room in this gorgeous castle. This whole situation has given me a sort of internal conflict. But before I cover those, I would like to first talk about another internal conflict that currently torments me. It's always so difficult to decide whether I want to play a detective game or go on a romantic love quest. MiHoYo has solved this dilemma for me by creating a wonderful mobile game that has both a riveting detective story and place for all kinds of romance. Tears of Themis is MiHoYo's first game, which combines romance with a mind-bending challenge. With MiHoYo's impressive quality, this game is most certainly worth checking out. The game takes place in the city of Stellus, which was formed as a result of civilizations clashing with each other. Stellus has experienced an abnormal increase in cognitive disorders. Good people have suddenly begun to commit cruel acts. The data on these cases has gone unnoticed for a good while. Now, the X-Note project aims to uncover the truth, and it is you who can set out on this search for truth. Interact with different characters, test them out, and collect evidence from 3D crime scenes. After collecting all the evidence, you'll present them in court. Each episode is a separate story, which eventually leads you to the mystery behind the Stellus anomaly. And the boys, of course. Where would we be without them? The game features 4 different male characters. Messages, video calls, and interactive games with them are sure to create an unforgettable romantic atmosphere. Rock, paper, scissors, Old Maid, and other interactive games will strengthen your emotional bond with whichever guy you choose. Dynamic graphics provide a completely immersive experience and realistic effect, as if you're really in the game. In order to make this winter a truly romantic and magical one, MiHoYo has specially prepared for you an exclusive interactive Christmas minigame, Christmas Party Land in Tears of Themis. Explore this wintry fairy tale with your dream boyfriend, and even attend wonderful winter festivals with him. Experience the festive atmosphere right under the snowy-looking stars. Locate and reveal a hidden map, along with many other uniquely themed mini-games. Check out the link in the description and install Tears of Themis so you can immerse yourself in the magnificent ambiance of Christmas Party Land. I understood everything. I sat down on the floor and cried bitterly. This was my room. Zach has prepared such a surprise for me, and I ruined everything. I was ready to sit in this fabulous room for an eternity without seeing sunlight. If only Zach would forgive me. Are you already reaching for handkerchiefs? But you shouldn't believe my tears, and especially sympathize with me, friends. Sometimes I myself do not understand where my real emotions are, and where I pretend just to get what I want. Believe me, I deserve such an attitude towards myself. After hearing my story, you'll want Zach to dump me. My name is Michelle, and I made a dead set at my best friend to get his millions. Yes, Zach was my best friend, the most wonderful person in the world. Our meeting is a real gift of fate. Unlike Zach, I didn't live in a cool mansion, but in an old trailer with my family. We didn't have basic conditions, a normal shower, toilet. The day Zach and I met, I ran away from home, if one can call it that, to an amusement park. I didn't have any money, but I had audacity and dexterity, and my main trump card is acting. I snuck into the park and began to masterfully pretend that I forgot my money at home at every attraction. Every stall was sweets. I was so sweet that some people offered to pay for me themselves, but I didn't enjoy it for long. The guard got me through pretty quickly and was about to call my old folks when Zach showed up. "Wait, mister, let's do without scandals. I'll pay for her ticket." "Aren't you too young, boy? Where are your parents?" The guard chuckled. "Here's my dad." Zach nodded at the wall that had a picture of the owner of the amusement park on it. Zach's very convincing bodyguards joined the conversation, and the conflict was settled. That's how we met. He just bought me a season ticket for all the rides. "You're a sly fox. You even have red hair," Zach smiled. "Thank you for your help, but I have nothing to give you in return," I replied. "It's okay. I don't need anything from you. Just let's be friends." "You probably won't be allowed to be friends with girls like me." But Zach stood his ground. That's how we started communicating, and a couple of years later, we were inseparable friends. It was the best time, but everything changed when we became teenagers. Zach wasn't shy about me and took me to all the parties. Do you think it's cool to hang out with the gilded youth? Ha! Absolutely, if you have money. And I've never had more than $10 in my pocket. I basically didn't take money from Zach. I just couldn't take them. If only he was my boyfriend, expensive gifts would no longer look like a donation to the poor. But alas, we didn't suit each other at all as a guy and a girl. So I remained his penniless friend. And at parties, I constantly caught the contemptuous glances of kids from rich families. My friends also added fuel to the fire, especially Rosie. "I don't understand you, Michelle. Zach is such a cool guy. Just imagine what gifts he could give you. You'd live like a real star, a millionaire's girlfriend." Rosie started that stupid conversation again. But we're just friends. I waved it off, although I understood that there is some truth in Rosie's words. "You need to date. You've been together since childhood. You need to move on." "But he doesn't love me." These words were painful to say. "Pfft, he's a guy. Make a dead set at him. You know how." "Oh, if I were in your place, I wouldn't miss my chance." Rosie's words really hurt me. First of all, this is my best friend. And secondly, how can I do that mean to him? But I myself did not notice how I had already stepped on thin ice. The idea of becoming Zach's girlfriend had already crept into my head. After talking to Rosie, I began to notice every now and then how luxurious some girls live. Shopping, expensive restaurants, fancy cars. In summer, they rest on tropical islands, and I'm digging in our little vegetable garden near the trailer to somehow feed the family. Thoughts of my hopeless poverty sometimes brought me to tears. I didn't want to live like this for the rest of my life, but I couldn't take money from Zach either. Yes, if he had become my boyfriend, then everything could have been different. Another blow was that my family had to sell the trailer. There was a sore lack of money. We settled into a makeshift shack that made our old trailer look like a luxury suite to me. Life had become unbearable. And that's when I made the final decision. It happened at another party. I looked at the girls with envy, well-groomed, beautiful, tastefully dressed. And I myself, at the same time, looked even worse than their shadow. And they were constantly hitting on Zach, and he was glad of their attention. And suddenly, Rosie's idea of making a dead set at Zach didn't seem so crazy to me anymore. Well, what's the big deal? Surely he is secretly in love with me too, and I definitely have feelings for him. I just don't want to admit it. I was sure that the plan was perfect and would bring only advantages to both of us. And for me personally, the huge fortune of my best friend was the biggest of these advantages. Millions that will soon be mine. Do you remember the acting skills that have helped me get everything I want since I was a child? Their time has come. Right in the middle of the party, I pretended that I felt really bad. I staggered, holding my head, and as soon as Zach ran up to me, I fell right into his arms. "Michelle, what's the matter with you? Are you sick?" My friend was really scared. "It's okay, Zach. It's okay." I smiled weakly. No, let me take you to a room." In front of everyone, Zach picked me up in his arms and carried me up the stairs. I literally felt the envious glances of the girls on my skin. When we were in the bedroom and Zach put me on the bed, carefully covering me with a blanket, I grabbed his hand. You're going to stay with me, aren't you? I looked as helpless as possible. Of course, Michelle. Oh, it was a great evening. Zach and I were alone, chatting about everything in the world. At school, he became more and more interested in whether everything was all right with me, and I, in turn, have completely played this dangerous game. One day, I suddenly burst into tears when Zach was around. The rest of the guys who happened to be nearby were shocked. Of course, Zach immediately jumped up to me. Michelle, what's wrong with you? What happened? He took my hand, and my heart stopped. Nothing, Zach. Don't pay attention. It's just, I couldn't contain my emotions. You won't believe it, but real tears poured out of my eyes. Why don't I have an Oscar yet? Zach took me aside and tried to calm me down. He stroked my hair and suddenly kissed me on the cheek. It's so good that I have you. I clasped to Zach's heart. He tensed up and didn't say anything, but I could hear his heart pounding wildly. Oh, how I hate myself now. And the further this game went, the worse it got. Zach decided that dinner at a restaurant would definitely cheer me up. This time, I didn't resist. And here in this chic restaurant, I finally freaked out. In my whole life, I have never been to places of this level. The terribly expensive and incredibly tasty food made me cry. I finally decided that Zach would be my boyfriend, no matter what it cost me. We began to communicate even closer and more often, although Zach's friends weren't happy about it. One of the girls I often saw at Zach's parties, Rachel, once blocked my way in the school hallway. "You don't think your lie will work, do you?" she asked, looking me straight in the eye. "I don't know what you're talking about." I had to answer with the most innocent look. "Your games with Zach. It's pathetic and mean. I love him," I said confidently. "Who are you lying to?" Rachel was losing her temper. Zach appeared next to us instantly. "Girls, what's going on here?" "She's threatening me," I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "What? I didn't lay a finger on you," Rachel gasped with indignation. "I'd better go. I won't bother you." My eyes filled with tears again, as if by a wave of a magic wand. It worked flawlessly. Zach gave Rachel a hateful look. "Don't bother her. Is that clear?" "Zach, come to your senses. She's lying to you." Rachel seemed ready to cry too. "Michelle would never do that to me. I trust her more than anyone." And here, my heart treacherously trembled. What kind of person am I? Succumbing to a rush of emotions, I grabbed my friend's hand. I had to confess before things went too far. "Zach, It's okay, Michelle." He smiled at me so warmly that there was no trace of my impulse to tell everything as it is. "I love you." I said it before I had time to think. Zach was confused, froze, and looked at me for a long time without saying a word. Then he turned around and left. I've been waiting for at least some action from him for several days. I couldn't find a place for myself. Did he really understand everything? Was it possible that one of the well-wishers could reach him after all? Oh no, losing Zach is the worst thing that can happen to me. But it wasn't so tragic. Zach texted me a couple of days later and invited me on a date. I almost dropped my smartphone from my hands when I read the invitation message. Of course I agreed. That evening, I was at the dock where Zach was waiting for me on board his yacht. He arranged a romantic dinner and finally confessed his feelings. Thanks to my efforts, my friend fell madly in love with me. When he confessed, I again, for a moment, felt very ashamed. So ashamed that I wanted to confess everything again. "Zach, listen, I'll give you everything. My girlfriend won't need anything. You'll get whatever you want." Zach looked at me with loving eyes. "Really? You shouldn't. I love you not for money." The words flew out by themselves. I drowned in dreams again, imagining what a gorgeous life awaits me. And soon, these dreams came true. As I wanted, first of all, my family bought a nice house. I drove around the chicest boutiques for days on end, buying up everything that my eyes only fell on. Then Zach decided that I should definitely start traveling. I became the most popular girl in school. But as it turned out, Rachel was in no hurry to give up. Her heart was broken. She and Zach had known each other not so long ago, but she managed to fall in love with him. But sincerely, for real, not like me. She tried to bring my deception to the surface many times, but naturally Zach believed only me, his best friend and beloved girlfriend. "You can't get away with it. One day he'll figure it out for himself," Rachel once said with tears. "But I really love him." I stood my ground, although not so confident anymore. "You only love his money, but there is nothing kept secret that would not come to light." And so it turned out. I had a really good time with Zach, but I didn't love him as much as he loved me, and it could not be hidden. Soon, Zach brought me to the mansion to announce our relationship to his parents. They knew me. Of course, they weren't thrilled. I was a beggar, a rootless mongrel. But they respected any decision of their son and accepted me as a full-fledged family member. Zach kept talking about how much he loved me, but I didn't feel the same, and I couldn't say those words back to him so easily anymore. I don't know what happened to me that day. Maybe my conscience has woken up, but I confessed everything. There was no scandal. Zach didn't scold me, didn't accuse me of duplicity. He just left. So here we are, back to the very beginning of my story. Zach found me in the very room where I was crying over my own stupidity. I tried to explain everything to him, but he just asked me to leave. We were able to talk normally only a week later. I honestly admitted that I was prompted to deceive him by an urgent need for money. Zach just smiled bitterly and said I was a fool. "I've offered you help more than once. You always refused." And he was right. Naturally, there was no question of any relationship, but Zach is a very kind guy to erase me from his life. He still helps me sometimes, and we do continue to communicate. That's how, because of my greed, I was left without a boyfriend and a best friend. But Zach finally paid attention to Rachel, and now they are doing well, which I am very happy about. Would you cheat for money? Write your answers in the comments. Click on the thumbs up button under the video and share it with your friends. And share it with your friends. And share it with your friends.